Here's a number that should stop you at the concession stand. A large popcorn costs a cinema somewhere around 80 cents to make and sells for $9. That's not a markup. That's a margin high enough to embarrass a luxury handbag. And the strange part isn't the price. The strange part is that the building needs you to pay it, because the film you came for is barely making it any money at all. So how did watching a movie become the least profitable thing a movie theater does? Start with the ticket, because that's where the money isn't. In a film's opening week, the studio can take around 90% of what you paid for that seat. The cinema keeps almost nothing. Over the following weeks, the split slides in the exhibitor's favor, maybe 70-30, then 60-40, eventually closer to even. But by the time the cinema's share becomes worth having, most people who wanted to see the film already have. Opening weekend is the weekend every cinema fights hardest to win, and it's the weekend it earns least from. The blockbuster on the poster outside is closer to a loss leader than a product, so the counter beside the box office isn't a convenience. It's the actual business. Concession money doesn't get split with anyone upstream. No studio, no distributor, no percentage owed to anyone in Los Angeles. Kernels cost pennies, cups and lids cost pennies, and a fountain drink is mostly water with some gas dissolved in it. So the margin on the whole counter runs somewhere around 85 to 90%. Every dollar that lands there stays. Now look at where the profit actually ends up, because this is the part that reframes the building. Concessions bring in maybe 15 to 20% of a cinema's total revenue. That's a minority slice by any reading. But because ticket money is carved up with the studio and snack money isn't, that same slice can produce close to half the profit. Most of the cash moving through the building arrives at the box office. Most of the cash the building gets to keep arrives at the counter. Two numbers pointing in opposite directions, and the whole industry lives in the gap between them. None of this was designed. It's scar tissue. When television started pulling audiences out of cinemas, chains needed a revenue line the studios couldn't reach into, and snacks were the one thing nobody upstream had a claim on. It worked, and then it hardened into the architecture. The lopsided opening week split studios ask for today quietly assume the exhibitor will make the difference back at the counter, which is exactly why the ban on outside food isn't a house preference. It's frequently written into the contract. That rule was never really about mess on the carpet. It protects the only revenue a distributor can't touch. Once you know that, the lobby stops looking like a lobby and starts looking like a floor plan with intent. The counter is wide, brightly lit, and positioned so you physically pass it on the way to the screen. Staff are trained to offer the larger size before you've finished choosing, and large is only 50 cents more isn't generosity, it's the business model compressed into one sentence, because that 50 cents is almost pure profit, stacked on a margin that was already enormous. Even the seats are in on it. Recliners, reserved seating, the premium formats with the curved screen and the shaking chairs. Those are genuine upgrades to the experience, and they're also something else. A recliner makes you want to settle in rather than duck out early. Reserved seating means you arrive before the trailers instead of sprinting in during them, which means extra minutes standing near the food. None of it improves the film by a single frame. All of it extends how long your wallet stays within range of the counter. Some chains stopped pretending years ago. Dine-in cinemas with full kitchens, servers delivering plates to your recliner mid-scene, bars in the lobby that keep serving after the credits. That isn't a new category of business. It's the same one with the disguise removed. The screen used to be the reason a food business could exist. Now the food business just puts a screen on the wall and charges admission to sit in the dining room. And here's the mechanism underneath all of it, the one worth carrying out of the building. This is a loss leader, the oldest trick in retail. Sell the advertised item at or near cost, sometimes at a genuine loss, and make your money on whatever people buy once they're already inside, already committed, with nowhere else to go until the credits roll. The film gets you through the door. It was never supposed to pay for the door, at which point the obvious question is, why not just charge more for the ticket and let the popcorn be cheap? Everyone would be happier. Nobody would feel robbed at the counter. Two reasons, and they're both about what people can see. The first is that a ticket price is public and comparable. It's printed on the listing, it sits next to the price at the cinema down the road, and every potential customer checks it before deciding whether to come at all. Push it up $2 and you don't just annoy people, you lose some of them entirely, and a cinema's costs barely move whether the room is full or half empty. The seat has already been built. The projector runs either way. The second reason is the killer. push the ticket price up, and a large share of the increase flows straight upstream to the studio under the same split that caused the problem. You'd be raising prices, absorbing the customer anger, and handing most of the extra money to the company whose deal put you in this position. Raise the popcorn instead, and you keep all of it. So the price you're allowed to charge is the one nobody compares, nobody plans around, and nobody splits with anyone. That's not greed choosing the snack counter, that's arithmetic choosing it. You can watch the same logic play out in what happened after cinemas emptied and streaming took hold. The response wasn't cheaper tickets to win people back, it was more premium formats, more reclining seats, more food. Because if attendance is falling, the only lever that reliably works is getting more money out of each person who still turns up. And there's exactly one counter where that's possible without asking anyone's permission. Which is why, once you can see the shape of it, you start finding it everywhere. A steakhouse can break roughly even on the steak, because the margin is in the bottle of wine poured beside it. A printer company sells you the machine at a price that looks impossible, then sells you ink for the next 3 years at a price per milliliter that would make a perfumer flinch. A gym sells a cheap membership and quietly banks on most members rarely turning up, just often enough to buy the smoothie or the personal training package. An airline sells a headline fare, then charges separately for the seat, the bag, the boarding order, and puts you past 40 shops while you wait. In every case, the thing on the sign out front is not the thing keeping the lights on inside. That's also why the popcorn price feels so offensive, and why complaining about it never changes anything. You're not being gouged on a snack. You're being asked to pay for the cinema itself, in the only place the cinema is allowed to charge you. The $9 isn't the cost of corn, it's roughly the real price of the seat, collected at the second counter because the first one is spoken for. So the next time you're standing there deciding whether the large is worth an extra 50 cents, you're not making a snack decision at all. You're funding the business that was never on the poster. Which raises the question worth taking home with you. What else have you been staring at, assuming it was the product when it was only ever the cost of getting close enough to the real one?